Hey guys, it's Gus, and Module 30 is coming very soon, in just a couple days. And when the new dungeon comes out, you're probably going to want to change your build for that new dungeon with all the stat changes. So I made a number of changes to my build, and this will not be what I'm using after like 3 days of the dungeon, because we're going to get new gears in the dungeon that is going to allow us to change our builds to make them stronger than they are now. The first caveat is I know this is not the strongest build possible at all. It's just what I'm going to feel most comfortable using. Um, because stats is not always the best answer. I'm a big user of AP for the tactician's precision. I probably do it too much, but I really enjoy it, and my gameplays revolved around that. And not having the AP would make playing the game much different for me. So I'm probably going to be using these AP gloves still, and I'm probably not going to use three-time pack tactics. I'm probably going to stick with quick action. But let me show you what I got for now. I'm still using the helmet from Master Lair of the Mad Dragon that can give you 10% combat advantage. There's a huge downside to this helmet. It takes 50 seconds to get the full advantage of it. So there's just not a lot of other options. We can use the helmet that gives 10% crit strike that you get fairly quickly and has a fairly high uptime. The problem is it's lower item level, and I'm already able to get the crit, but I'm not so much able to get the combat advantage if I replace this helmet. And this chest piece I've been wanting to use, but I've never been able to make it work in a build. There's just too much crit stuff, but with the way the new module is and us getting 30% more crit sev, I can make it work. So this is the Biz Conquer's Mauler's plate and it gives up to 18% crit severity. And it's from Master Demon Web Pit's last boss drop. I could use tons of different gloves right here. And if I was using the Moon Dancer weapons, I would probably be using the crit gloves. But I do like having AP gain, especially with tacticians. So I'm not using the stat gloves. I know a lot of people will use stat gloves, and if I see that I'm having issues not using the stat gloves, I'll go back to them. But for now, I'm sticking with the Starhide Armbands, which are a drop from Master Moon Dancer, if I'm not mistaken. I have on the perfect weapons. I've only used these one time ever. I know there was a time where I said I was going to use them, but we ended up going Mastercraft weapons. So these weapons have a lot of damage potential if you can use the stats. And I can use the stats. If I was using the stat gloves and when we get the new crit severity pants, I won't need the stats. But for now, I'm going to use these because they give 5% combat advantage or 5% crit, 5% crit severity. Now, these boots are probably something you've probably never even heard of. They're called the Master Druger Mercenaries Trotters. And what they do is when your health is above 50%, you get 10,000 crit severity. And these have always been useless for basically any endgame build because there's been no room for 10% or 10,000 more ratings. But in this new module, we have room for 30,000 extra ratings. So I'm using these because there's no other boots that give this much damage potential that I'm aware of. And they fit. Now, these are expensive, right? They take a lot of Gristro hides to make. Another alternative you could do, which I haven't tried to build around, is you go to these boots right here, and they give 10,000 accuracy whenever you're in a party. So basically, in the dungeon, it's 100% uptime. I just don't think I can fit all 10,000 accuracy in the build because accuracy was not one of the stats or ratings that increased in Module 30. But it is something to consider. I've always used either the damage boots or the 7.5% crit severity boots. So this is a big change for me. I have two of them in the auction house. I'm not trying to promote them. I made these last night, and I had to make three pair. The first two were normal, and the second one was the plus one that gives 100 item level, which is really nothing. But I wanted the plus one. So that's why I have two in the auction house. If anybody's saying I'm trying to promote them, I've been using the Detector set for quite some time now. A few mods actually. I've always enjoyed it, especially because I can use it on my non-Raptor builds as well, which is I've been doing a lot of scaled content lately where you don't need Raptors. So these give 7% combat advantage and 7% forte. So 7% forte is 3.5% power and 1.75% accuracy for rangers and whatever your specific class is, plus a little bit of deflect. So and higher item level. The downside with these is you're not getting strength like you see with the Shroomwood set. For the rings, I know somebody may squawk at this. So I'm using the Silent Assault Ring, which is again a Mastercraft item. I bought this in the auction house last night after I failed three in a row. So this cost me a fortune when you take those fails into consideration. But these give 6% crit strike based off your hit points, and it gives 4,400 ratings. Now, you may be seeing the Dragon Hunt ring is better because it gives 7% crit strike, and you might be right. Um, oh, okay, I got it in my inventory. So we take off this ring and we go right here. It gives crit 7% crit strike, and it's only a little bit less item level, but you gain 1% crit strike. The problem I had was the ratings gave all forte. So quarter of those ratings are gone because they go into defense, which I know is not a complete waste. It does give AP gain though. But I went ahead with a little bit higher item level one that gives 1% less crit strike because of the ratings I could use better. And I think this one's stamina regen. No, it doesn't give either. Any shit. Maybe I will go back to that ring. Um, I'm also using the ring from the Moon Dancer, 7.5% accuracy based off your stamina. So when you dash, you lose stamina and the accuracy goes down. But there's a lot of rings out there. Most of them are giving about 5% after some time. There are some rings that give 5% crit and 2.5% crit severity based on the number of enemies you have. There's 5% CA rings. Generally, they take a long time to get the stacks. I was just able to make these work better for me. This shirt might be kind of unusual, something you've never considered. These come from invasions in wild space, and they can also drop from heroic encounters as well. And what this shirt does is it gives you 7,500 power. Now, normally we want to use stuff that gives percentage, right? If this was 7.5% power, I'd rather take that. But I have, in the build I've made, have room for these ratings, and it benefited me the most using these. These shirts are a pain in the ass to farm. You can go down in the Moon Dancer and come here and buy this shirt. It's the same thing. The problem is it doesn't give two offensive ratings. It only gives one. So if you want those extra offensive ratings to make your build stronger, you got to go farming. If not, these are really easy to get from the Buzz Jewel store. Uh, Pants, I'm still using the 5% crit strike pants from the previous module. Everything on this has combat advantage. Everything on this side has accuracy. We have to use the portable spelljammer if we're using the detector set. And if you're DPS, you're basically gonna have to use the Arctura's Resonating Music Box. It's the best artifact we can use right now, and that means two spots. And I would put two debuffs in these. These are interchangeable. Right now, I got on Dragon Bone Blades, typically because the tank is using, you know, is using Mythlar, the healer's using the new scepter. So the 3 DPS are stuck with crystal. Usually, most groups is blades, demo, and crystal. So I have two of those three. I'll put on demo. I don't care. You just lose a little bit of ratings with it, but those are generally the most ideal artifacts you can use in a five-man group. Stats, they're all over the place. You can't see what these are gonna be when this is all said and done, because the item level is gonna go up, over 1,800 when we increase our companion bolster from 100% to 120%. But basically, what this is going to look like is power is going to be at like 119.8. Accuracy is going to be at 86%. Combat advantage is going to be capped. Crit strike is going to be at 89.8, and crit severity will be at 117.5. I have every point in strength and dexterity. Look at these defensive stats. I get looked at by the enemy, I'm going to be dead. I'll have my scrolls ready. Still using the same side. Rage of Flames, Devil's Precision, Movement Speed. I may go to AP, but there's a couple bosses where movement speed's gonna be a big help. So I may have to go AP if I can go without the movement speed, just because I'm missing so much AP right now. Of course, Lightning Enchantment. So for offensive, I have 4 Fire Agates. The problem with the Fire Agates is that they give crit, and I had a really hard time lowering my crit rating, and I just can't make all the ratings work using the fire agates, considering they're the best enchantments we arguably that we can use right now because the triple slot enchantments give you the most ratings. I just couldn't make them fit, so right now I have an onyx, an amethyst, and 2 rubies. Powers, nothing's changed except one thing. I took off crushing roots and put on aspect of the pack. I do like crushing roots. I highly question though how much damage this is really giving. I don't know because during the artifact call it has no effect on mobs that are dead in 4 or less seconds. These crushing roots have no effects. When you're using tacticians all the time, you're getting all your encounters back. So I don't really know how many damage ticks I'm losing out from crushing roots, but I do know I am losing damage. I just don't know if it's that important because it's not affecting the artifact call. So what I went with was aspect of the pack, gonna give everybody 5% CA. Note this is incredibly buggy. Uh, just have an HR in your group put this on and move around and see how buggy it is. But you do usually get some of this combat advantage up all the time. Powers haven't changed. I'm still using Slasher's expertise. I probably should use more than disruptive, just because of how much I'm using disruptive shot. I may have to go to Force Ghost cancellation because of the lack of AP though. Thank you, Ruhine. Um, Maybe boons. I have an empower, movement speed, and I think defense. I can go awareness. I don't care on that one. Obviously, on the bosses, I'll probably go revive sickness, just because dying is much more common when you're learning the bosses. Companions, I have Portobello summoned. The companions I see every single group using in the master content is probably gonna be Flapjack, Tutor, Portobello. Those 3 companions are very good. And a lot of people don't have Portobello yet, so I'll probably be the one using it. Which leaves Dritz and Spine Devil. Now, you could swap out one of those for another stat companion, such as Atrian, who gives 2% power and 2% crit strike, and she hits really hard too. The issue with Atrian is her um, she's gone up. She's unattained. Oh my god, I didn't know she got up that much. So Atrian is pretty expensive. Now there's an alternative to Atrian, and that is the Harper Bard. It does the exact same thing. The problem with the Harper Bard is it doesn't really hit for that much damage. Oh god, this has gone up too. Holy shit. And then another option is the blue fire eye, which gives this is a unlike Harper Bard and Atrian, which they actually have to cast the spell before you get the buff. This is up 100% of the time just by being in the group, and this gives everybody 3% crit. So that would work. So there's a lot of options. I see most groups though using the Flapjack Tutor, Portobello, Dritz. and Spine Devil. And if you're gonna replace either Dritz or Spine Devil, that's a hard call. That's a really hard call. But I think with the way this new dungeon is designed, with the second and third boss being a lot of mobs as well as the boss, that we might benefit more from Dritz because Spine Devil has such a weird uptime and it doesn't affect everything. But we'll see. That's not gospel though. But I don't mind being wrong on that one. Uh, so we were on companions. I have it on cute senses. Yeah, I get it. A lot of people want the companion debuffs, and I'll use it. I don't mind it at all because if I go, dulled senses, it's still getting the same benefit as acute senses, except everybody gets it. The problem with that though is if I have acute senses on me and there's, two tentacles, a Garistro and the boss, acute senses are dulled senses will only hit one of them. While acute senses on me, I can hit them on all of them. So, and uh, I go either way. So on the companion equipment, two molten sword knots that give accuracy, forte, and combat advantage, and one molten talisman that gives combat advantage and crit severity. Companion bonuses, it's gonna be the same setup. Basically, everybody's gonna be using Batiri, Minsk, Neverwinter Night, Raptor, Golden Cat. Now, Golden Cat you can definitely change, uh, especially classes that have CA as their forte, or people who aren't using the AP gloves. Uh, you might see a lot more people running the Alchemist here, or the Book Imp, which gives accuracy and combat advantage. Mounts. For the mount, so this is my most painful thing in here was getting rid of Gladiator's Guile. And I might actually take off the Tacticians just for Gladiator's Guile. I gotta play around with that. So, Tacticians, Menders, Tacticians, Assassin's Covenant, Executioner's Covenant. Executioner's Covenant is you're getting 6,000 offensive ratings at the loss of 6,000 defensive ratings. Assassin's Covenant is you're gaining 4,000 offensive ratings at the loss of 4,000 defensive ratings. Two Tacticians and Menders where you're gaining 4,500 offensive ratings and losing 6,000 offensive ratings, I believe. Yeah, because you get outgoing healing with that, which doesn't affect me. You just gain crit strike, crit severity, and power, but you lose awareness, crit avoidance, defense, and deflect. Yeah, that one hurts. You're gonna notice almost all brutalities I have in this build. All brutalities, and a skill. All brutalities, two precisions, brutalities. So 15 brutalities. This is I'm always tweaking those. The collars haven't changed, for like 10 mods now or whatever. Um, crit sev, movement speed, and encounter powers. Big B's hand. Now I may take off pack tactics. So if nobody in the group uses pack tactics and we just use runic and mystic aura, I lose like 4,000, 4,500 offensive ratings. Just like 3% overall damage or whatever. But I'm really thinking, me as ranger, I don't think this is other classes. I'm thinking from quick action, not having this available is I might actually lose out on more than 3% damage. I use this a lot. And I don't know if we use Force Ghost cancellation if it triggers quick action. So I need to check that. Yeah, I use quick action a lot. It just gets the hindering strike back so fast, which is great when the mobs pop up. Groups enjoy that too because usually it stuns them as well. So that's the build I have going into this module. I am a Geth still. I have been playing around with a Metallic Dragonborn. Um, I do have to change one thing though. So the food buffs I'm using is Flask of Potency, Squash Soup, Prime Rib, and I'm not using Sunlord's Gift Elixir actually. That will probably change when I get the new pants, but I'm using the Wildstorm gift elixir for the 5% crit sev. Now, I do know that if I use, I could take off pack tactics and I could use the Sun Lords. Not pack tactics, aspect of the pack, use Sun Lords and cap CA or combat advantage. But then I would be short 5% crit sev. There's a lot of tweaking to do in this, and I'm not budging on these gloves for now unless see something different. I'm probably not gonna budge. If the host asks me to use pack tactics, I'll use pack tactics. But I think my normal setup is just gonna be quick action for now. I just use it too much. I know most classes probably won't benefit, but if I use this 3 times in a minute, that's gonna give me 18% of my AP back, which is a shitload. If you got any questions, comments, or rooms for improvements, or just to say this is a pure shit build, please do so below. Stay class, Neverwinter. See you soon.